Well, you know what else is hard to understand, Mr. Butters, is Hollywood is mandating that the actors they cast in their movies have a certain number of Instagram followers. And this is pretty interesting. By the way, link to all these articles is in the description if you guys out there want to do your own research. But Maya Hawke, the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, was recently on a podcast where she basically said that producers are now casting movies based off of the amount of Instagram followers that they have. And basically, if you want to be in a movie, you have to collectively cast actors that have a certain number of Instagram followers. And famously, Zendaya,
I fucking knew it.
One of the reasons Zendaya keeps getting cast and stuff is because of her Instagram follower account. I think she has something like 60 million.
I've been saying this for years.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense because she's not talented.
But you know what's interesting about this is that when I worked in Hollywood, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but I did work in Hollywood briefly.
We're aware.
There were these like little like pocketbooks that producers would order, and in these pocketbooks they were like a stack of index cards about an inch thick, and you had every single working actor in Hollywood listed in there and how much they would bring to a movie if they were cast in that movie. So how much monetary value just an actor being in your movie would, appear. And then you could use that if you had like an actor attached to get studios to pony up a certain amount of money. Well, it seems that those have been replaced by Instagram follower accounts. And Maya's dad, Ethan Hawke, has said that basically he's been in situations where he couldn't cast the people he wanted to because they didn't have the proper amount of Instagram followers, according to the producers. And the logic here is that the more Instagram followers you have, the more free marketing you can do for the movie that you're in. And so basically, if producers can bring, let's say, 100 million Instagram followers to a movie via the people that they cast in it, that equates to a certain amount of marketing spend that they don't actually have to like pony up money for. And that will bring in this X number amount of dollars for the movie once it's released, et cetera, et cetera. And so basically Maya Hawke put this practice on blast, but even though we all knew it was happening, but she's basically saying that there are movies that will not get made if the people acting in them don't have a certain number of collective Instagram followers. So I'm going to start with you, Shagsworth. What do you think of this practice of producers only casting people based off of their Instagram following?
Well, only doing that is dumb. I mean, I can see the logic behind like trying to cut back on your marketing budget because it can be really, it's a huge portion of it anyway. But I mean, dismissing people like merit in acting that could fill a specific role in favor of, oh, you don't have enough, like that is just stupid. It's as bad as it's just another form of DEI, in my opinion. So like it's not surprising at all. I understand. It just depends on, and I would think everyone here would think that it's just a nefarious part of Hollywood, and it very much could be. I think there's some well-intentioned people that are trying to utilize it, but it's probably, they're dismissing too much talent in favor of like saving on marketing dollars, which, at some point you have to you got to spend money to make money, and if not having someone who has a million followers because they'll bring a better dynamic to the cast or just more depth to the role, then you should sacrifice there, in my opinion.
Well, Tom, one of the interesting things about this is that this is basically, they're using Instagram followers as shorthand for the actor's Q score, like how popular and well-known that person is. But they don't seem to be factoring in like Facebook followers or TikTok followers or anything. It's just Instagram seems to be the thing that they're most focused on. And Ethan Hawke basically said that he's been in situations where producers have said, oh, I don't care if this person can act. They have 10 million Instagram followers, cast them in your movie, as opposed to this person who can act that has no social media presence whatsoever. So what's your take on this? Do you think that this is basically emblematic of how Hollywood is looking at actors nowadays?
Well, we've been reporting on this for a while. Like I said, Script Doctor kind of keyed us into this, is true. And a few other people have talked about it before, where Like, this is basically the reason why we got Pattinson as Batman instead of Nicholas Hoult. Because Nicholas Hoult did not have as big of a social media following as Pattinson did. That was one of the direct things we were told. And it's stupid. And you're 100% right. It's why all these, because if an actor decides, oh, I don't want to be on a certain social media thing, and I think Mai even brought this up in her thing, they say, well, then we have to take that amount off your score or whatever it is when we turn it into the studio, her manager or agent or whatever said. So they actually have like a numbered score for and they count more than just Instagram. They bring other ones in here because, like, this is my understanding is why some of the actors and actresses haven't dumped X yet, even though they claim they were going to and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, it's just stupid, and choosing an actor based on their social media following is ridiculous. It's not like that's not that doesn't mean anything as far as your caliber of acting. The only one of these in these groups that actually gets cast that way is the kid from Wonka and Dune and all that stuff. I just forgot his name all of a sudden.
Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet, because he can actually act, right? Like I will argue that he's probably the Johnny Depp of these kids' generation, right? Ugh. Other than that, Zendaya, the rest of these folks, they're just popular. They're not actually movie stars. Right. That's the difference.
Sounds like a Chinese social credit score.
Kind of.
Well, shorthand for it, Dutch, is a Q score. But I want to ask Odin, because Odin, you're the numbers guy, and basically the way producers look at movies is basically via the numbers, and they know that if they can bring, let's say, collectively 100 million Instagram followers to a movie via the people that they cast, they know for a fact that 100 million followers will translate into X number of dollars over the course of the movie's, promotion or release or whatever the case may be. So do you think that there is some credit or merit to this idea of casting people based off of their online following?
Not as a general principle. And the reason why is because there are, I think, more cases that can prove that it doesn't always work than cases proving that it does work. So it depends on the movie, it depends on the person, depends really on what's going on, right? There's so many factors that need to be present in order for a film to be a hit in today's market. The greatest example I can think of that shows why this is just complete hogwash as a general principle is if this was all true, if the number of followers you had resulted in a box office or had a tight correlation with it, then The Rock would have billion-dollar films from the last several years. But that has not happened. In fact, Black Adam was one of the biggest flops of the year, and in fact was kind of the end, that death note for whatever plans that they actually had going forward in that environment. So, if this was actually true, The Rock's movies would be doing a lot better than what they actually are doing, and Black Adam would have done amazing. But that did not happen. So clearly, just because you have a lot of followers does not mean that people are actually going to go to the theater. It's kind of like where there are people that try to take social media presence or social media hype and say, oh, we can translate this to box office success. Well, just because someone's talking about it online does not mean that they're going to go to the theater and actually spend the money. Doesn't mean that they're actually going to leave their house to go ahead and do so. That's also the same mistake that was made when you had all of the hilarious things that happened with Morbius, right? The whole "it's Morbin time" meme. The studios said, oh, look at all this traffic that Morbius is getting online. The people love this. They think it's hilarious. Let's put it back in theaters. No one saw it. No one went to go see it. Because, again, social media is not real life. And I think that the studios and companies just have never been able to grasp that, whether it's decisions like this or whether it's them trying to make policy based off of what they perceive to be the social justice movement on social media that they think represents the majority of people, when the reality is that it doesn't. And in fact, it's mostly either bots or a very small, very vocal group of extremists that are trying to push their narratives and trying to push and force things on other people. So whether it's something like that or whether it's actually cases of hiring actors to try to get them to do something, it doesn't actually work. It doesn't actually translate. And I think the proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Odin, are you saying the Rock's social media is nothing but bots?
I'm saying that in a channel with as many followers as he has, that there's a much higher number of bots than in smaller channels. I mean, the more people that you have following you, the more bots that you actually have.
This is all coming together for me now in my head.
Yes.
So I'm completely starting to understand everything.
It also makes me want to start looking further into the whole dead internet theory, where you know, because like you look at these massive accounts, and because the studios are now making these choices based off of follower accounts, the fact that it's not resulting in a direct correlation of people showing up to the theater and showing up to support the film, it makes me think like, maybe there needs to be some type of audit of, you know, maybe Doge, when they're done with the government stuff, should go ahead and start to, you know, go through these follower accounts and see how many of them are actually trolls or how many of them are actually bots and how many of them are actually real, authentic people that actually engage and interact. Because I guarantee you it's going to cut a lot of people off of those follower accounts.
The problem is the more bots there are, the faster we approach the dead internet. And once you get to like over 50% bots, then officially bots have more, they have controlling interest in the internet. And so it becomes a problem. I hope that's not the case.
That's an interesting theory, though, that like I haven't really heard the dead internet theory or whatever, but like the way the algorithms work, especially on X, like it's hard to look at, well, who's actually talking about this stuff, because a lot of the stuff that we talk about, I know that like my other friends who are, even though they're online, like they have no idea about the intricacies of like Hollywood or, you know, pop culture. They're just like consuming things here and there. So it really makes me wonder, like how do you really see like what is the real interaction with something, and how, because it is difficult to step outside and shift your algorithm away, because there's always this constant push to like, even though I've muted probably 10 or 15 people in the past 2 weeks, like I'm still getting shit from like that side of things. And I'm like, why won't this go away? Like there's something that wants me to continue to engage, you know?
I mute every rage bait account and every account that posts something as a reply with that has nothing to do with the original post. I mute. It doesn't matter who it is. I muted hundreds of accounts, and I still get the stupid reply bots and rage bait. Like a picture of Adam Schiff. It's like, what do you think about this guy? You know what? F you, bro. That's so low quality. Stop it.
Yep.
And you know what? The people fall for it. For hundreds of people who are like, oh, that guy sucks or whatever. You know, come on.
Yeah.
Brian, I do want to ask you, because Hollywood does seem a little bit more kind of vulnerable to social media opinions and stuff like that than other industries. Case in point, the Snyder Cut. Basically, Warner Brothers was bullied into believing that there was this grassroots movement on social media that wanted to see the Snyder Cut version of the Justice League. They ended up releasing it. Then it turns out that Zack Snyder just paid a bunch of PR firms to create a bunch of bots that made it seem like there was this demand. But more so than that, what's interesting about the Instagram metric in particular is that most celebrities use Instagram and interact one-on-one with people on Instagram, whereas on other platforms like Facebook or TikTok or like whatever, there is no interaction, and they're just against Twitter at this point because of Elon Musk. So like they don't want to lend Twitter any credibility, even though there are a lot of journalists and actors on Twitter that manage their own accounts and deal with people directly. But the Instagram metric, to Hollywood at least, is the best metric by which to judge whether or not a celebrity has a high Q score with their followers and their audience and stuff like that. So what's your take on the effectiveness of social media in terms of like influencing Hollywood's decisions?
First off, my favorite actors don't even have social media. I can't find them anywhere. And they work and they're super talented. So, secondly, I don't know why Instagram is considered like the S tier social media of website. It doesn't make any sense. You can have millions of followers on Instagram and still not get 100 people to click a link. It's just not a market. The platform itself is so internalized. It's almost incestuous how people that follow accounts really normally don't engage outside of Instagram. So it's not a very good social media to base that entire metric on. If anything, X or YouTube would be a much more viable platforms in which to market a movie. Instagram, definitely not. So I've never understood that. I think it's just it's a popular thing. It's the click. It's what young people use Instagram. So we need to base our entire model on whether or not they have enough Instagram followers. Clearly doesn't work, and clearly Instagram is not in that tier that you should be giving it that much respect, considering that you can't get anyone to watch these movies. I think Zendaya is a horrible actor. I'll be honest. Everything she does is mid. Her acting is mid. Her looks are mid. The way she talks bothers me. It looks like she's constantly taking Quaaludes. I've never understood why anyone wants to watch her movies. I've never understood why Hollywood keeps casting her. Everything about her is as mid as it can get. She is just the average. She's like the most average actor ever.
Brian,
Yet for some reason she gets these huge projects.
Zendaya is in, she makes 10 times better.
And I don't respect anyone with only a first name.
You're so wrong. You're so wrong. She's the epitome of Hollywood greatness right now. She is the bar that everybody needs to set.
She's so plain and she's so uncharismatic. Nothing she does is interesting.
Did you just wake up racist?
Everything she touches looks better, and
I don't even know what race she is, so it has nothing to do with race.
Wow.
It's all about her
Exactly
talent.
my
How
point.
dare
I
you?
don't see colors.
Yeah, I have no idea what she is, bro. I think Mediterranean or something. I don't even know.
She's clearly a pale-skinned, freckled redhead. You know, to
I don't know, but she's the worst. She's the worst, and I don't hate her as a person. I just don't understand why everything I watch has to have fucking Zendaya in it.
You're just a phobe and an ist, Brian. So
okay,
just
whatever.
Deal with it. So
Just a hater, man.
Clearly, the Instagram model doesn't work, and I don't think Instagram is a good platform in which if you're gonna base your entire model on marketing a movie with their social media platform, Instagram is the worst platform to base that on.
I'm gonna have to replace you for the next couple months with your brother. I think that's what we're gonna have to do. So
he won't come on, bro. He won't come on. You guys aren't rageful enough. He needs more toxicity in his life. His words.
Well, Dutch, there is no bigger fan of Zendaya than you, as we all know. And in fact, during the actors' strikes, she had a couple movies that were postponed because she wasn't allowed to post on Instagram about them like she normally is, and so like they needed to wait for her to get access to movie promotions once more to release the movies. That's how important Zendaya is to the films that she's
how many Instagram followers does Pedro Pascal have?
That's a good question. We should
40 trillion, and it still doesn't work
because he's in everything now too. It's like in the chat, and Laurie just reminded me Zendaya and Pedro Pascal in the same movie.
The definition.
Yeah. But that would also be like the biggest movie ever to hit the big
Somebody
screen.
did a fake poster of that, had Zendaya and Pedro Pascal, and the name of the movie was Every Movie You See.
Yeah.
Or something
they're,
like
they're,
that.
They're literally in everything now. It's crazy. So
yeah, but Dutch, what's your take on actors needing to have high Instagram followers?
It's the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it feels like they're doing some kind of weird Chinese social credit score to be able to get cast in movies. I don't know if I totally believe it, because I see plenty of movies with people in them that are don't have huge or really care a lot about their social medias. But at the same time, it does make sense because you can't deny that she is in everything, and I guess I'm just going to have to dive into it a little bit more because I haven't really thought about it a whole lot, to be honest with you. But what you're saying, I feel like it kind of tracks in my head, and it's really kind of annoying. But what do you do? I haven't watched a lot of movies this year, so I don't really have my thumb on the pulse of everything right now. So I don't know, man. It makes sense, but it also is super annoying. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like anybody to have to be tracked by popularity. There's what happened to people with skill and
talent.
People that can act. Yeah, for real. I mean, can you imagine somebody like I can't even think of a name right now, but it's got to be kind of pissing off some of these old school Hollywood people, like even guys like Robert De Niro or somebody. Imagine somebody like him having so Mr. De Niro, how many Instagram followers do you have?
Into what? Into what? What are you talking about?
Or
grandma what?
So, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
But as it relates to like what you were saying earlier, Kadish, about them having their little black book of how how profitable someone could be. Like it makes sense in that vein. Like you want inside information or like how well these actors could contribute to your movie, like that's not necessarily like unheard of in any industry. Like you need to know who your top players are, and where they might rank. It's just just seems a little bit ridiculous because how you measure that, like how do you really measure like the conversion rate of someone's Instagram followers to, you know, reducing your budget, but also contribute, like how does that contribute to reducing your marketing budget, but also to the success of your film? Like, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Popularity has always been a thing in Hollywood. I mean, this is just another method, I guess, to track that, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, they used to have things, I don't even know if they still do it, you know, like the sexiest man in alive, or, you know, sexiest woman in Hollywood, you know, on the cover of People magazine or whatever, you know, I don't know, but you know, it just that's what that's what movie stars used to be. Movie stars used to be people who you could bank on, whose name you could put on top of the poster and go, oh shit, this is a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, or this is a Stallone movie, or something like that, you know. But they just don't do that anymore.
Now
So,
it's like, this is a Zendaya movie.
yeah, it's like,
well, these are also like all the social medias they're driven by algorithms. So you essentially you see the things that you want to see, like where like traditional marketing was like it put things in front of like everybody, you know, like they tried to maximize the space, billboards, you know, posters and whatever, like TV commercials and shows, like, but with social media, you're like, a lot of the stuff is fed to you because you might like it, or it's something that you would interact with anyway. So I might not see things that are Zendaya related, you know, whereas someone who's into, you know, other TV shows that like are similar to that will see them, you know? So it's a weird, that's why all the social media tracking is very strange, and like who is actually seeing it? What are the demographics actually involved in there that are active? I feel like there's just too many things to consider in order to make it viable.
I think with Zack Snyder math, you could say that if Zendaya has 60 million followers and only 10% of those people show up for the movies, that's 6 million tickets sold for whatever movie that she's in.
I'm sorry, just for as an example, Sylvester Stallone has 18.9 million followers on Instagram, and Zendaya has 180 million. So
wow.
Instagram it's a horrible platform to base this message. I understand the concept of marketing a movie with a built-in base, but Instagram is the worst place to base that on. It's a horrible platform for marketing.